Once again, welcome into the Unash Dukes podcast, coming your way here for a brand new week. We are presented by Emel's Hideaway in First Avenue Southeast in Cedar Rapids, right across from Lindale Mall next to the Home Depot, open at 4 o'clock Monday through Saturday. And what can you say about them? They're great. They're magnificent. They're big supporters of ours. They've got sandwiches, pasta dishes, chicken, pizza, burgers, a complete bar, catering. Just stop on by. They're located right across from the Lindale Mall on First Avenue Southeast next to the Home Depot. Thanks to all other great sponsors as well. Ben Ritter Sportswear in Cedar Rapids, Hunt Graphic Innovations, Dr. John Woolner and Epiphany Dermatology, and American Family Insurance agent Kurt Gustafson. And couldn't do it without all those great folks. Scott Unash, Mark Dukes with you. Did you watch Bad Bunny, Mark?
No, I told you I wasn't going to watch, and I didn't watch. I
Eh,
mean, since when does a 15-minute halftime show upend the free world? I mean, I wasn't interested. I didn't know. I didn't watch. And now all I'm reading today is breaking down what his lyrics said in English and, Kid Rock's history of his lyrics and get a life. Just get a life. Come on. Did you watch it?
Watched the last of his songs when he was parading around. I had a seating meeting at halftime of the Super Bowl, which I'm grateful for 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 high school basketball. So I missed most of it anyway. I heard Lady Gaga was there. I haven't. I didn't care. I didn't really. The game somewhat interest me, and we'll get to that. The actual crux of the Super Bowl 60 here in a little bit, but yeah, I mean, I saw that Bad Bunny had to get off social media today, which he's the latest one to have to do that. Just, I don't know. You're right. People got a lot of time on their hands to criticize, and I don't want to get on my moral soapbox or anything like that, but it's just, it's come on. We got better things to do, right? In this world than to do that. I mean, it's
Well,
not
I
my cup
think
of tea. It's not your cup of tea. They they didn't hire Bad Bunny for Scott and Mark.
Well, they hired Bad Bunny because the NFL has gone international in recent times, and he's an international star apparently. Um, again, it's not my cup of tea, and a lot of the halftime shows in recent years haven't been. It doesn't make me a bad guy, but you know, I have more important things to worry about, whether Bad Bunny is a, good or bad person, or anti-United States, or Kid Rock's this or that. I just don't have the energy for it. It doesn't mean I'm anti either way. It's just the way it is, and I don't know. Looking for that old man on the porch meme, but I don't think that's true. You know, I think a lot of people feel the same way. But it's just become a thing already. They're probably trying to figure out who Roger Goodell is going to have next year, and there'll be an outrage the minute that performer is announced. So,
Sure.
and again, once again, I won't care.
There are odds already.
Oh, there are.
You're darn right. There are
Have you
odds.
heard of any? Do you know any songs that?
Oh dear God, no, no idea,
Okay.
no idea who they are. But there are odds out already. Who's going to be the Super Bowl 61 halftime performer? And of course, next year, I believe back at SoFi, and first one that will be not on over the air network television next year, Mark. ESPN will have the Super Bowl next year with Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. So um, you got the Super Bowl on that. You've got, I think, what TNT is doing the Final Four this year. It's a new world we're living in here. Um, but Super Bowl 60 is in the books, and congratulations to the Seattle Seahawks as they are the world champions for the second time. As they pretty much the final score actually was probably a little bit closer than the probably should have been. I mean, Seattle owned that game lock, stock, and barrel from the start to the finish. And New England, to their credit, made a couple of, they had one two pass touchdown drive that got them a little bit closer. But the Seattle defense and Kenneth Walker, the third, the former Michigan State Spartan, were the big winners and led Seattle to the world championship last night.
Well, I didn't have any skin in the game aside from one pool, which was unsuccessful.
Ah,
You didn't have any skin in the game. Therefore, we can say the game was dreadful. Or I can anyway. It was a dreadful game. I mean, no touchdowns through three quarters. I like defense as much as the next guy, but again, no touchdowns through three quarters. New England had like 75 yards through three quarters. It was just a domination by Seattle. And Seattle was terrific. I mean, Kenneth Walker the third was great. Darnold was okay. He did enough to. He didn't cause his team to lose. That's for sure. And with that defense, I don't think Seattle was going to lose. I don't know what New England could have drawn up to be more successful in the first three quarters. The Seattle defense was tremendous, plain and simple. New England was outmanned. And guess what? Seattle's the favorite for next year. But you know what? Seattle was 60 to 1 in preseason to win the Super Bowl. Buffalo and Baltimore and Philadelphia were the preseason favorites this year. They were nowhere to be found. Kansas City was right behind. They were nowhere to be found. I mean, Seattle and New England were long odds to make the Super Bowl. That's why I was kind of excited to see it. I thought it was going to be an interesting matchup, but it was far from it.
yeah, it wasn't unless you love defense. I do like defense,
Yeah,
and the Seattle front four is really good. They're called the dark side defense. There's not really a household name among them. I mean, if you even the most ardent football fan out there, I don't think if you said name five Seattle Sea or four Seattle Seahawk defensive starters, they'd be hard pressed to come up with them. I'd be hard pressed to come up with them. But as a unit, they're really good. Mike McDonald's a terrific young coach, and they played in the best division. They won that division. They were the number one seed. They were the favorite to win it, and they won it. And I don't think there's a whole lot more you can say. Sam Darnold, all he had to do was not lose that game yesterday, and he accomplished. I felt really good for Sam Darnold. And I'm not I had no skin in the game like you, Mark, but Sam Darnold has been kicked around a lot. Five teams throughout his career, former number three overall draft choice. Everyone thought he was a bust up there with the great busts of all time, like Ryan Leaf and et cetera, et cetera. But showed last year with the Vikings, maybe until the last two games anyway, that he had a ton of talent and good arm strength and showed it this year. Seattle won that game offensively without Smith and Jigba there pretty much for two-thirds of the game. And they knew their New England wasn't going to move the ball against that defense. So kick some field goals. Don't go for it on fourth down. And let your defense do good things. So I felt great for Sam Darnold. I don't know if Seattle's going to win it next year. They got a first place schedule. That does mean something. And it's these two teams who played in Super Bowl 60 didn't even make the playoffs last year. And
yeah.
I'm not putting New England down the river yet. They were ahead of schedule. This is a good young team. Gonzalez is as good a defensive back as you're going to find in the NFL. I mean, that guy is amazing. Drake May had a bad night last night. A lot of people would have had a bad night against the Seattle defense. They, the rest of the AFC just hopes that New England and Robert Kraft does not open the pocketbook and signs a couple of offensive linemen, or the Patriots could be really, really good in the next few years. They're going to be good anyway, but they could be really, really good. They started two rookies on that left side. They just had to throw them in there. Campbell at left tackle from LSU, and they struggled. They struggled in that game. And yeah, did New England get some breaks during the year? Yeah, they played the easiest schedule of anybody. We know that now. They played one of the easiest schedules over the last decade in the NFL. And CJ Stroud was awful in the playoffs, and they had to beat Jared Stidham to get to the Super Bowl. They did what they had to do. New England's not going anywhere. Vrabel's a heck of a coach, and they're going to be around for a while, I think.
I think they are, and I think Seattle very well could be too. Uh, free agency and the offseason can change a lot. The draft can change a lot, but I mean, the only drama yesterday was whether DeMarcus Lawrence's wife was going to have a kid, in the stands. It was not a good Super Bowl, and it's a shame because the season was so good, especially for teams like the Chicago Bears, where it's just exciting week in and week out. The NFL, week in and week out, is just there's so much theater, and there was none in this game. New England, I think you're quite right. I mean, May was a little bit in over his head. Part of that was the offensive line in front of him and the Seattle defensive front that was so strong. But he's going to be around for many, many years to come. And so many good young players, whether Stephon Diggs and people like that are going to be back. Those are decisions that are going to have to be made. But the AFC in particular, I think, has so many teams that are going to be capable. I mean, the Rams are going to challenge Seattle next year, I think. But the AFC, I don't think, teams like Kansas City and Buffalo and Baltimore and maybe a few others coming up. Jacksonville is on the rise. Uh, a lot of teams out there in the NFL that could do what Seattle did this year. But they're your champions and they're your favorites for next year.
Not a big surprise. Not a big surprise. Watch out for the Detroit Lions next year, playing a fourth place schedule.
Yeah.
Watch out for Dan Campbell. Unless he goes for unless they don't punt next year. And tell you what, and the Seattle punter, Dixon,
Yeah.
showed just how big special teams are. He pinned New England inside the 5-yard line twice in that game. And that was big, really big, because they scored off of both of those things. And um, Kirk Ferentz punting is winning.
He would love it, wouldn't he?
Oh, it is the Unash Dukes podcast coming your way here today. Big thanks to Emil's Hideaway, First Avenue Southeast, as well as our other great sponsors, Hunt Graphic Innovations, Bim Ritter Sportswear, Dr. John Woolner at Epiphany Dermatology, and Kurt Gustafson Agency of American Family Insurance, all helping us out. And before, actually, too much to Jim Nance's chagrin, the golf did not get over before the Super Bowl kicked off, as it went into a sudden death playoff at the Waste Management Phoenix Open. The People's Open, Mark, as Chris Gotterup, who is making a big name for himself, got his second win of the early PGA season by coming from behind, tying Hideki Matsuyama, who made a dreadful 18th hole, not once but twice, in the desert yesterday. That's not the biggest story, though. We talk about this every year, no matter what platform we are on, Mark. And it comes up again: have we hit the enough is enough stage for the People's Open, the Waste Management Phoenix Open? This is, if you're not aware and you don't follow golf, this is the one event of the year where pretty much anything goes as far as the stands are concerned and the people that are there. Um, we talked about it kiddingly last week that they kept showing the top 10 inebriated people walking around and falling down at the Phoenix Open. Well, that's not a great thing either, but at least they aren't coherent enough to yell things and to create havoc for the golfers that are trying to make a livelihood out there. We saw this again creep up over the weekend in Phoenix, in Scottsdale. Um, to their credit, the Thunderbirds who run this event, an organization in Phoenix, very good organization, as a matter of fact, said they were going to crack down this year, and they did. They kicked people out if they were being a nuisance. Did not stop people. And again, the question is, should this stay this way, Mark, or should they put their foot down a little bit on the People's Open?
Well, I think it's really hard to police when you have thousands of people across the golf course, not concentrated in one area. I mean, now there are people out there, we've talked to them in the past, that would just as soon, fans make as much noise as possible in golf. Uh, that's not golf. That's not golf etiquette. But uh, what if you could make as much noise as possible throughout the backswing and putts and whatnot? Would it be any different? Now Matsuyama, he screwed up the 18th hole in regulation. Otherwise, he might, he wouldn't have had to go to a playoff. Then he screwed it up again by hitting in the water. So he made a mess of the 18th and got her up, took advantage. Your point about fans, once again, I think it's hard to police on a golf course, but when you have, not this week, but last week, you had a social media influencer offer some guy $100 to do whatever, and this influencer makes thousands of dollars off the, what he did at that particular tournament to antagonize somebody, whatever it was. He paid somebody $100 to do it, and he gets rich off it. You know, uh, good for him. He's making all kinds of money, but you really want to be a ass? You really want to be an ass to make money? Apparently he won't. He doesn't care. He's looking at his bank account and said, "So what?" I don't know. That's not cool in my mind. But why the fan yelled in Matsuyama's backswing? Was he drunk? Did somebody, was it on a dare? Who knows? But I don't think it has a place in golf, but it's awful hard to police.
It is, and another social influencer did the same thing. Was caught and was kicked out, and was almost nearly was arrested and was kicked out for life. Not that he cares. He made his money, so he
Yeah.
doesn't need to go back. Um, Matsuyama, over a very critical putt, was getting ready to hit it. Somebody said something. Um, the one that was an actual accident was when Matsuyama was getting ready to hit on the 18th hole on the tee shot, and one of the marshals dropped a chair. So, and so that was a little unnerving, and that was right before he hit it into the water. Um, I guess when you sign up for this event, Mark, and this is why it is not a signature event on the PGA Tour, although it has a very good field. Some people love this thing. Joel Damon's out there encouraging the fans, wearing a Seattle Seahawks helmet. Others are wearing jerseys in the first and second round. They're not doing it on the weekend. Keep that in mind. CBS is encouraging it with Amanda Balionis and Johnson Wagner and Colt Knost live from the 16th hole. They're encouraging all this behavior. It's you just have to. I don't mind the people being idiots. Just don't say anything when they're hitting the golf ball. That's what you got to not do.
Yeah, I think the golfers come to know that on the 16th hole, the stadium hole, the par three, there's going to be a lot of noise, and there probably even noise in your backswing. They're prepared for that, I think. But on other holes, like the 18th in Matsuyama's case, I don't think the golfers are ever prepared for, there's been pictures taken and noises made, and but this guy shouted something, and um, I don't think you really sign up for that. And the point is what to do about it. I'm not sure you can do anything about it, but ban each and every one of them for life. I don't have a solution to that, but it would be unnerving for me if I'm looking for a PGA championship. Um, and something like that happened to me. But once again, it wouldn't have happened if Matsuyama had played the 18th hole better in regulation.
True. Very, very true. So the debate continues, and we go from Phoenix to serene Monterey Peninsula this week, and the
Hmm.
AT&T Pebble Beach National Pro-Am. So you go from one extreme to the other extreme, and see the celebrities playing in the Pro-Am with, at least for 3 days anyway. I think it's 2 days now. I think they just use two courses, Spyglass and Pebble. So maybe it's just 2 days. I don't know. I know Travis Kelsey's playing this year, so I don't know.
Had a pretty good swing.
I'm not sure who his pro is. I don't know if Bill Murray's playing again this year. I would assume he is. He always plays.
I hope so. Kelsey's got a good swing. He might have a future on the celebrity tour.
He's got a lot of time on his hands. Perhaps as soon as next year. Although I think he's going to play one more year. I think he's going to be back for the Chiefs. Well, we will see about that. Uh, I wanted to get to this. Big news this weekend in the world of college football, around these parts anyway. If you are a fan of the F, FCS, the Missouri Valley Football Conference, yet another team, and this one kind of hits a little bit closer to home for a lot of people. North Dakota State, the many-time national champion Bison, are going to be leaving the FCS ranks to go to the FBS ranks. Next year, they will be in the Mountain West, the new Mountain West, for football only. They will still stay in the Summit for basketball and other sports, but this is another team leaving the Mo Valley, Mark, for greener pastures. And by greener pastures, I mean money is what North Dakota State is doing this for. Let's face it. They're going to make much more money in the Mountain West. And we had a good discussion about this. I've had it with a couple of different people. I don't think this is a good move for North Dakota State. I know you're going to make a little bit more money. Is it that boring now to win national championships that you now want to go play the Colorado States and the New Mexicos of the world instead of the South Dakotas and the North Dakotas, et cetera, and go through the process of trying to win? To me, is the money worth it, Mark? Because if I'm North Dakota State, what are you thinking at this time? You got to change your entire MO now. The Bison were terrific at getting the Midwest kid that was a terrific all-state player, but he wasn't a 6'1", 225-pound linebacker. He was a 5'10", 225-pound linebacker. And those guys were terrific football players and won them national championships. Well, now they're going to be going up. They're probably not going to be able to win with those guys on a regular basis playing FBS football. They're going to have to go after the guys at Minnesota, Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas. All the upper Midwest teams are going after now. I don't know if you can bring those people to Fargo, North Dakota. To me, I don't think this is a positive move for North Dakota State. And that's my thinking of it. I'm curious to hear what you have to say.
Well, at least you get to make a trip to Hawaii every now and then. That's a positive. Um, I'm kind of indifferent on whether it's good or bad. I think in the long term, it could be good if North Dakota State does it right. Because obviously there's a lot more money available out there. Um, are you going to be able to compete with the UNLVs and New Mexico's, Nevada's, Air Force? This is a conference that some of the teams are leaving to go to the newly formed Pac-12, or the growing Pac-12 anyway. And now they're bringing in some other teams, and Northern Illinois is coming in, which is interesting. It's a pretty widespread conference, as most conferences are nowadays. But you make a good point. North Dakota State can it win with the type of recruits that it has now? And does it have the NIL money to compete? I think it might. I think it might. Fargo is not a small place, and I think it's got a tremendous fan base. We saw, excuse me, when North Dakota State played at Iowa, and they just took over Iowa City West High School. All the fans and tailgaters, and they travel so well. Um, it's like going from adolescence to adulthood, I guess. North Dakota State's football program has advanced to that point and faced the decision to stay in the Missouri Valley Conference and pretty much dominate it and contend for national titles, or seek more money and try to compete with the big boys. It's not, maybe not on the same level, but St. Thomas was basically kicked out of its league in Division 3 and went to Division 1. Uh, you're good for so long. What's the next step? It's not unlike a player, who succeeds at maybe the junior college level or whatever, always wondering, can I compete at that next level? And I think that's where North Dakota State found itself. And I think it's going to be interesting the next 4 or 5 years to see what happens.
Me, they're banking on the fact that, okay, there's 12 teams in the playoffs. There's one of the group of five that is guaranteed right now. If they go to 16, you're still going to have at least one group of five team in there. Can we get that spot once
Yeah.
every 10 to 15 years? Can we do that? It's possible. It's possible, but you still have, the Boise's to contend with, like you said, the Tulanes, James Madison's. Um, do they have the athletes to compete with them? Do they have the money to compete with them? I mean, to me, going 7-5, 8-4 every 2 or 3 years and going to play possibly in Boise at the famous Idaho Potato Bowl doesn't thrill me. I'd rather win a national championship in 1AA than to do that. Um, but again, that's why we got UCLA and Mick Cronin making great assessments every week. Why he's got to play at terrible times and every 2 days cross country because of money. And that's why North Dakota State is doing that. Let's face it. When it comes down to it, they're getting more money to be in the Mountain West than they are to be in the Missouri Valley Football Conference.
It's kind of interesting that the president of North Dakota State that made this announcement, he's going to become the new Iowa State president, David Cook. And it's like, here's the announcement. Good luck with that type thing. Do you want to play Iowa State in Ames in 2029? Uh, but anyway, I think as interesting for folks around here anyway is what happens with the NBC. Now, it's got 9 teams left, I believe, after this announcement. What does it mean for Northern Iowa? What does it mean for the league in general? Um, will it try to bring in another team? I mean, Illinois State this year went and made the national championship game, right?
Yep.
And a team like that, gives everybody hope in the Missouri Valley Conference that they can be in North Dakota State. So I think three teams leaving the Valley in three programs leaving the Valley in 3 years is more than a coincidence, and I wonder about that league.
And more great rivalries probably hit the dust. Um, North Dakota State, probably not going to happen anymore. South Dakota State, North Dakota State, probably not going to happen anymore,
Yeah.
uh, which is too bad. Some great rivalries. Um, but get ready for Colorado State coming up to Fargo. That will be tremendous. Hey, a little basketball before we go. Iowa State and Iowa both struggled this weekend. Iowa State, Baylor, to their credit, for about 35, 38 minutes, played with Iowa. Well, not that long, 25 to 28 minutes. Iowa State went out, got a lead, and then Baylor made a tremendous comeback, got it within three before losing. And then Iowa on Sunday, to me anyway, it looked like and I told you before we got started here, I thought Iowa would be a little flat coming off of two wins in the West Coast and being out there for 4 or 5 days, whatever it was, coming back and taking on, Northwestern. It was not a bad team, by the way. Um, I thought they'd be flat, and they were flat. That was by far, I thought, since the Minnesota game, the worst Iowa performance. But a win is a win for both the Cyclones and the Hawkeyes. Iowa State goes up to number 5 in the poll. Iowa still receiving votes. If they had the name Kentucky on the front of their shirt, they'd probably be in because the Wildcats are back in the top 25 at 17-7. But it makes no difference at this point.
In terms of Iowa, you can paint all the scenarios you want, including the fact that Northwestern got beat by Illinois by 40 points in its previous game. I'm sure Chris Collins had something to say about that. Northwestern's not a great team. It's got some nice players. Every team does, almost every team in the Big Ten and Big 12 and the SEC. But this is a game Iowa should have won handily, and it didn't. Where would Iowa be without Bennett Sturts, who's the
We lost by
Big
20
Ten,
yesterday.
what a Big Ten Player of the Year the second week in a row. Um, where would this Iowa team be without him? The fact is, they do have him, and it's a good thing they do. Terrific performance by him. Uh, but I guess any win is a good win. A loss there would have been awful, and then you have to go on the road to play Maryland, which is equally as bad, but also dangerous, as every Big Ten team is on the road. So it's another notch in your belt, and you move forward and try to keep chugging along here in a week that includes a winnable game at Maryland, and then a game I'm really looking forward to in Purdue on the weekend. So whether Iowa can compete or not, I don't know, but I think some discussion we might have for another day is where does Bennett Sturts rank in point guards in Iowa history?
It's a good one.
I mean, it starts and stops with Ronnie Lester, doesn't it?
I would think so.
Yeah, but I mean, you, I'm not going to do the Mount Rushmore thing, but what he's doing right now, he's among the best, I would think, with B.J. Armstrong and Andre Woolridge and people like that. I mean, he's having that kind of year, and he's that kind of impact with his team.
Right. And we got to see the team of the year this past weekend. And no, it wasn't the shenanigans down on Chapel Hill between great comeback by North Carolina and then idiocy afterwards, which should never happen with throwing things at the Duke people and et cetera, et cetera. But best game I've seen in college basketball all year was Saturday night, Illinois, Michigan State. From tip off to the
Yeah.
final buzzer, there wasn't a better game this year in college basketball than Illinois, Michigan State on Saturday night.
Well, I agree with you. That's Jeremy Fairs is catching a lot of heat for some of his antics.
You should.
Michigan State point guard, and he should. But Illinois, I mean, first of all, your last name has to end in a C to play, unless you're Wagler or somebody like that. But no, all kidding aside, that's Illinois is really, really good. And Michigan State is going to be Michigan State in the tournaments, I think. You might get another one tonight, Arizona at Kansas.
Agreed. That's Yeah, Arizona might go down tonight. Might go down tonight. We'll see. I'm still not convinced about this Kansas team. They're not deep at all. Um, but it's Kansas,
Yeah.
and they can do anything. Mark Ironside will join us midweek, working on something for Friday as well. I think is going to come through, so we may have guests in the next two episodes of the Unash and Dukes podcast. So I think Mark made it back from Croatia. I'm assuming.
I'm sure he did, and look forward to talking to him. We'll get to some Olympics too. The mixed doubles curling team goes for the gold tomorrow, Scott.
That's right.
And our friend Tyler George, remember when he was on our radio show? He's doing the commentary for NBC.
Doing a good job too.
Excellent job. But curling gold tomorrow. Let's go. But come on, USA.
USA, USA. All right. Big thanks to our great sponsors, Emil's Hideaway and First Avenue Southeast in Cedar Rapids. Bim Ritter Sportswear, downtown 817 2nd Avenue Southeast in Cedar Rapids, and online at bimritter.com. Hunt Graphic Innovations. Discover the difference Hunt Graphic Innovations can make for you. Dr. John Woolner at Epiphany Dermatology on Council Street Northeast, and American Family Insurance agent Kurt Gustafson on Johnson Avenue Northwest, right across from the Johnson Avenue High V. Couldn't do it without their great help. And we will talk midweek, Mark.
You got to talk then.
All right. It's been the Unash and Dukes podcast. Thanks for joining us today.